Wow, what a weekend it's been. Hey guys, welcome to the internet. So for those of you who didn't see, I did another scary story video on Saturday night, like I have been, and it's actually probably the best scary story video I've ever made. I highly recommend checking it out. But in much bigger news, I've mentioned a few times over the past month or so that I've been working on this huge project for my YouTube Analyze channel. Well, that finally released last night, and oh boy, it is growing pretty quickly. Thanks to the channel Nerd City, he's one of the guys that I was working on the project with. He released this pretty massive video that I was a part of. I won't really go into detail right now about what it's all about, but I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check that out. But for now, we're back to our regular stories. My dad, the GM, freaking loses it. Okay, one from the vaults. We ran a small boutique hotel in the mountains for a decade. My brother and I were chefs, and everything else, with a few staff over winter, and a full complement of 20 over the summer season. My old man was the on-site GM and owner. We were busy over the summer. The road outside was nose to tail from 6 a.m. until 10 p.m. most days. Things would wind down around 2 a.m., and we'd be up and open to the public for coffee at 6 and breakfast from 7. We were busy, so the off-season we could close a few days and often stay open for only 1 or 2 rooms. Cut the staff a lot of slack. Good system, worked for us. On this night, we kept everyone on shift, waiting for a couple people to check in around 8 p.m. If we sent them away, they didn't get paid, and we were more friends than their bosses. Let's put it this way, remote hotel, often snowed in, we only let the good guys stay for the winter, although every staff member wanted to. Anyway, it's pitch black and a little snow is starting to fall, when an average-looking couple in their early 50s pulls in. We ask them to check in and if they would like dinner, and they say yes, and they'll be straight through once they've taken their bags down and freshened up. Okay, fine so far. One of the boys had taken the bags down to their suite, which has a 4-poster and a jacuzzi. Really nice room. Huge windows with mountain views and 2 sides. They appear for dinner and she does not look happy. She tells the waitress the toilet is dirty and cracked. That's a major thing, so my dad and my brother and I grab a toolkit and go in the room. The toilet is sparkling clean. We can't find a crack anywhere. Eventually, we locate a hairline crack in the porcelain, where one of the bolts holds the seat on, but it's not visible unless you lie on the ground with your head completely under the bowl, with a torch. F us, right? My brother has already gone back and cooked their starter, scallops and something else I don't recall. We have Michelin Guide status for food. They get their starters, then order wine. They complain about the very hot food being cold. It's just not possible. The girl brings the plates back and we literally don't know what to do. We sling them under the lights and ignore it for a minute. The waitress takes the wine out, pours it for them and returns for the food. The office is connected to the kitchen and my dad is fully aware of everything that's happening. They're the only people in and we have CCTV. She takes the plates back to them. We are already cooking the mains. She returns in tears. The woman complained about the wine. "This wine is disgusting. Take it away and bring us something nice, and don't screw it up this time." I can see my dad's face going red. The waitress makes to go back to the bar, but my dad grabs her shoulder. "Stay here. You pair, come with me." I look at my brother. We knew he was pissed, but what actually happened blew our minds. He went to the table, lifted the plates they were eating from in front of them, placed them on the table next to theirs, moved the wine and glasses as well. So they're sitting there with cutlery and nothing else. He leans in and says, "The wine isn't to your taste?" "It's disgusting," this idiot woman replies. "It's not your taste, neither is the food. Nothing we sell here is disgusting. We don't sell disgusting wine, and there is nothing wrong with the toilet in your room. It's not cracked and it's very clean." "But..." "So, you're not going to be happy here, and I don't much feel like having you under my roof for 3 nights. So what's going to happen here is you are going to get the F out of my hotel, now." He freaking roared in their faces. It was all I could do not to laugh. My dad was so incandescent. She made some comment about their bags. My brother pulled my dad back and I said, "Your bags will be with you shortly." You heard the man, now get the F out, now. I'd been waiting to say F to a customer forever. Didn't waste my chance. The guy sized us up and thought about it for a second, but my brother and I are both well over 6 foot, with 20 years on him, and the rest of our staff were watching from the doorway a few feet away. They get up and head for the reception door, and just as they are through it, my dad comes running from the room corridor with a bag in each hand. My brother and I open the double doors and their bags sail through the air, and out into the car park. And that was it. No bad review, no crap on the phone, nothing. Just a pair of scammers who were going to complain and crap us up, treat the staff like crap and argue the bill. Ejected like the total scum they were. We closed up and sent everyone home. Never seen my dad ever speak to anyone like that before, or since. Although, he did take a can of Coke off a guy one time when the dude bought it and then said, "This is daylight robbery. If I was robbing you, I wouldn't give you a refund," as he threw the guy's money at him. I've seen worse customers than those pricks, to be honest, but when there's no one else in, and we could all be in our rooms chilling, or shut the bar and have a few drinks, it doesn't go far. And don't F with my dad. Man, all I can see when I try and picture this story is The Shining. I feel like being trapped in a winter hotel just kinda makes you go a little crazy. Force this kid to take the final. Fine, he'll take it. So this happened years ago when I was in high school, but I smile every time I think of it. My high school had a policy that anyone who missed less than a certain number of school days could pick one class they had an A in to skip the final. You could get a couple extra days for college visits, but otherwise it was very straightforward. Awesome policy, and we all loved it. One year we had this kid who was in 8th grade and had been diagnosed with cancer. He spent a lot of years sick, getting treatment, going to the hospital, running to the bathroom to throw up, etc. Despite all this, he finished the year with an A in his Spanish class. It was his only high school class, so it was the only final he would have been able to skip. Administration was not going to let him skip the final because he had missed too much school. He and his parents asked them to make an exception, given the situation, but administration wouldn't budge. His teacher stood up for him, but was told this kid had to take the final no matter what. He had missed too many days and there would be no exception. The teacher said okay, but told her class not to study for, worry about, or exempt her final. Then, the first day all her students showed up for the final, she told them to take out a piece of paper and number it 1 through 3, leaving one line in between each number. She then asked 3 questions along the lines of, what is your name? How do you say yes in Spanish? And how do you say hello in Spanish? Then she collected the final. Everyone got a 100 that year, and she became a legend. The kid has been cancer-free for over 5 years now. Well, this is a nice story, but it's also a little bit odd. You can't take a test if you have cancer, unless it's a really easy test. I don't think that I would have the mindset of, I'm not able to take the test. If I had cancer, I'd be like, I have a little more important things to worry about. Entitled people with too much power versus a new girl. I'm uploading just too many posts about entitled people, but I've just encountered so many in my life that now I'm just kind of spamming the community. For today, this story is about why school teachers shouldn't have their kids at the same school. So backstory, I was a victim of bullying when I was a kid, from right when I moved into my current city with my parents, since I was 3 years old. Being from another province, that was hated in the actual province, people just left aside my parents and have never been kind to any of us. Fortunately, they were able to find some trustworthy friends, whom they are still friends with. Same exactly happened in the school I got in when I was 3 years old. Since kindergarten, I've been left out for being an outsider and not being exactly skinny. All the kids have been growing up together as their parents were close friends or family, and they asked for their kids to be in the same class. When I was 9, I couldn't bear it anymore, and told my parents I wanted to change schools after some things happened, and accepted. I didn't get luckier. Different schools, same exact garbage, but this time it was worse. I got into a class at the start of the 2nd year of my primary school, age 10, and tried to make some friends. I remember it as clearly as if it had been yesterday. Hey, that's OP, the one that blank told me about. She's a total loser. I made 0 friends in that school. All my breaks consisted on quietly eating my sandwich in a spot at the stairs that they were behind me at the school's playground. I always brought some stuff with me, being it either cards to play or books. Anyway, now let's analyze the bullies. The leader of them is what you'd call a Starbucks bimbo in process. She always showed off her power. Her mother was a teacher, and secretly the headmaster's lover. I know this because one day I found them making out in my class, after returning because I forgot a notebook. I didn't even enter, of course. She was always messing with me. She always threw my stuff to the ground, breaking it by stomping on it. Always tried to throw my lunch into a puddle of dirty water next to the fountain. She was always backed up by at least 2 of her friends, so while they grabbed me, she just took my things and messed them up while laughing. Sounds cliche, right? Yup, it's as cliche as it can sound. But this really happened. But one day, all heck broke loose. I'm not, and never was violent, but my father said, next time they mess with you, hit them where it hurts. I went full berserker and moved hysterically as to not let this happen anymore, and hit the new girl with my elbow several times on the face. She, of course, had a bit of a bloody nose. Nothing really bad. We were still kids and I wasn't very strong. And that was enough for her to go run to her mother, that was on the playground watching us. Yes, she always watched her girl doing those things to me. She never, absolutely never, stopped it. She didn't even need to talk to her mommy. The teacher, who I'll be calling the entitled parent from now on, just walked up to me and slapped me. Says, "What do you think you're doing? Are you effing stupid or what? You mentally slow kid?" I, of course, began to cry on the spot. One of my favorite books was lying on the ground on a puddle of water. I was hurt from being held strongly and from trying to free myself, and the teacher slapped the dump out of me. Says, "I'm bringing you to the headmaster. Let's see how you manage with detention. You'll think twice again before touching my kid again. You foreign night lady with a communal uterus." Indeed, I got detention and had to give an apology to the girl. I didn't want to apologize, but the glare I received from the entitled parent was enough for me to be afraid of not doing so. When I got home, I told this to my parents. I'm not those kids who keep things to themselves, as I previously had been dealing with bullies. I learned that I shouldn't do that. My mother got really mad, as she was the first person I told this all about. My father was working at the time, and took me and her things and went to the school. The entitled parent had the nuts to say that I attacked her poor child as if I had rabies, and went on to destroy her own book to blame her for bullying. The nerve! You should be ashamed of your kids. You're horrible parents. Is this a common thing in your land? Because if it is, it should be looked through. My mother had enough with her. With the deadliest glare I've ever seen her give, she told her, "I want the cameras. I'm so calling the cops right now." Now, the teacher's face went pale, as well as the entitled kids and the headmaster's. Then it turned red with anger. Says, "Now who the F do you think you're calling, you racist slur? You are a complete night lady. If you think that you have the right to call the cops on them, my poor kid did nothing wrong. Yours is just so effing disgusting, no one wants to get near her. Call them, come on, I dare you. My husband is a cop and will detain you for assaulting us and menacing us." My mother? More like my hero. She pulled out her phone. She had recorded everything. My mom says, "Now I think you should think twice." My mother got out of the school and called the cops. The school had cameras, so when the cops arrived, they went to check them. These mother effers had deleted all the records from the day, but were dumb enough to leave the rest. The investigation took almost all night, in which they listened to the recording and saw the things they did to me, even looking at entitled parent literally doing nothing. Needless to say, the entitled parent and the headmaster were arrested for assault, negligence, child abandonment, and child abuse. They got a fine, and I was told that if they ever approached me again, they'd be put in jail. Years later, I saw this girl again. She dropped out of school and has been arrested for possession of drugs. Guess being the teacher's daughter isn't worth it anymore. You know, for the majority of this story, I'm just like, is this taking place in the 1800s or something? This is brutal. And then it gets to the point where the police show up and then they get charged for everything, and I'm just like, oh, okay. Well, at least we could say this is at least somewhat a civilized society. Karen insists she doesn't work here. So a little background. I have an almost 2-year-old who is a bit of a finicky eater, as many kids that age are. There's one brand of little blueberry-flavored, heart-shaped rice puffs that he absolutely loves, and we use them as rewards for when he accomplishes something, like successfully using the potty or putting away his toys. Sometimes we also give them to him just because we love him. He calls them puffs and practically chants it when he knows he's about to get some. It's pretty adorable, but I digress. Now, I'm a 6'3" man and very broad-shouldered. I'm a pretty calm, pleasant person most of the time and try to make friends with everyone I meet, but I've been told that I'm intimidating just because of my size. I'm aware of this and try not to loom over people or throw my weight around, but sometimes people get skittish just because I'm there. So anyway, I'm at the major chain grocery store after work picking up a few things that my wife asked me to grab on the way home. I remembered that we're low on puffs and swing by the baby aisle to get some, even though my wife didn't ask for them specifically. Lo and behold, there's Karen in her smart business casual jacket with her overloaded cart standing right in front of the puffs. She's holding a box of baby oatmeal, reading the back of it. I calmly watch as she puts the box back, picks up another box of the same brand of the same powdered oatmeal, just a different size, and starts reading that. Again, I wait, but I'm standing there wondering what could possibly be different between the two. She then picks up the first box and starts comparing them. They're identical other than box size. And I'm tired of waiting for her. It's only been 2 or 3 minutes, which isn't that long, but I'm ready to get home to see my kid. So I say, "Excuse me, ma'am, could I..." And then Karen, without looking up, "I don't work here." I say, "Right, could I please..." "I said I don't effing work here." Except she says the word as she glares death at me. I say, "Yeah, I get that, I just need..." "Get away from me. Just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I'm going to help some idiot man buy baby stuff." I say, "Look, I just want that cereal," I say, pointing at the puffs on the shelf. She says, "Don't touch me. I said I don't work here. Manager, I need a manager." Now, there was a nice older lady stocking shelves at the other end of the aisle. I've talked to her a few times over the past few months. She's always been really sweet, and always tells me about her grandson, who coincidentally has the same first and middle name that I do. She knows me, so I'm not worried when she heads over. She's not a manager, but being older, a lot of people assume she is. I'll call her W for worker. Says, "What's the problem here?" "This man is harassing me." I just sigh. "I just wanted to..." "I don't care what you want. I won't be bullied." Turning to the worker, "I demand that you have him thrown out. I won't put up with this." Says, "Ma'am, can we please calm down? I'd like to..." "Don't you tell me to calm down. He's the problem." And then to me, "I said I don't work here. F." "Ma'am, I can't help you if you don't calm down. Please, can't..." She turns her hands, palms up, in a pretty universal, non-threatening position. "Don't you touch me. I'll call corporate. What's your name?" So I've been pretty irritated, but I haven't gotten mad until now. I worked customer service for a lot of years, and am used to being treated poorly by seemingly insane people, so I've been trying to remain calm. Once she threatened to report the sweet old lady just for trying to defuse the situation, I get angry. I stand up straight, looming forward just slightly, and with my best semi-loud dad voice that I usually reserve for when my kid is about to do something that's going to get them seriously hurt, I say, "Lady, I just wanted to buy that cereal for my kid, and your cart is in the way. I know you don't work here. I'm not an idiot. I was just trying to ask if I could reach past you to get it." Karen goes completely pale, and frankly looks like she's about to wet herself. She silently grabs her cart and scoots it back 2 or 3 feet. I smile and say in as calm and friendly of a manner as I can manage, "Thank you, ma'am." I grab the puffs, put them in my cart, and walk away. Have a nice evening. A few seconds of silence pass, and I walk towards the registers, before I hear the worker say, "Ma'am, if you still need that number for corporate, I can get that for you." Why do these people have to just make everything so difficult? Well, that was fun and all, but today's question, I forget that this goes up in the mornings. What was a normal part of your life growing up that other people were shocked by? Never being able to tell your parents the truth about where you were going. I remember the first time I realized it was weird when at a friend's house. We were leaving, and all she said was, "We'll be back later." And her mom said, "Have fun." I was shook. No interrogation, and her mom seemed to trust her. It was wild. Yeah, I know a lot of parents are very concerned and protective about letting their kids go out on their own. But my parents were the complete opposite. It was more like, "What? You played World of Warcraft for 8 hours today? Well, you're not playing for the rest of the week. You're only supposed to play 2 hours a day." But then on the other hand be like, "Wow, you actually went out tonight? Oh, fine, just go out all night. Have fun." Kneeling on rice is a punishment for just about anything. Mom would throw a few handfuls of rice in a corner, and you had to kneel on it for 20 minutes to an hour. Hands behind your back. And don't you dare try to lean on that wall, or you'd get smacked in the back of the head, and into the wall, and your time would start over. Afterwards, you'd have to clean it up, including any blood from broken skin, and then often you'd have to help make dinner, or do whatever chore as if nothing happened. Something tells me this person grew up a long time ago, because, this is the kind of thing that parents get arrested for nowadays. I've never had a family dinner at home. We just all get our food at different times and eat in separate locations. Yeah, I've actually had both sides of this at certain times. There are some days where I'm really busy with something and I don't want to have to sit at the table for a while. But if you're in a house where everyone always eats separately, and it just becomes very antisocial around the house, I think that just, it gets a little awkward after a while. Whenever my friends would come over, I would just tell them about the rules you had to follow when talking to my dad. This would include, agree with anything he says, don't speak unless asked a question, always try and answer, don't say "I don't know," and don't cry when he has a go at you, etc. Took a few friends meeting my dad, then refusing to come around again, / being picked up early because they were upset, to realize that most kids don't live in constant fear of a parent, and don't have a set of rules in order to keep said parent calm and happy. Yeah, I feel bad for anyone who has parents like this. It's pretty scummy if you're just a complete jerk to everyone around you. No one wants to put up with that. I never once heard or saw my parents fight or yell. I can only recall one time that they were even sort of huffy with each other. Yeah, for the most part, same here. My parents have pretty much never fought. Man, I feel like my dad's gonna have fun watching this video. I grew up with 7 siblings, 5 brothers and 2 girls. Between the brothers, we had just 4 pairs of shoes, which meant that at least 2 of us had to stay at home. Went to school barefoot for almost a week before they called child services. Okay, that's actually kind of funny. Hope you guys all had similar shoe sizes, you just had to trade around every day. One time I made a new friend in middle school and invited him over. We just had a normal evening of pizza and video games and watching crappy early internet flash movies. My parents would check up on us, but just let us be and watch TV in the living room by themselves quietly. As the evening went on, he got kinda weird and withdrawn, and then took me aside to ask if me and my family were a bunch of freaking Bible thumpers, to which I incredulously replied no to. He basically explained that the lack of skin flicks lying around, loud arguments, strange people coming over, and holes punched in the walls was extremely off-putting to him. To him, that sort of constant instability and chaos was completely normal, and something that regular average people did. And my quiet, boring home life was a total outlier. It was kinda hard for us to be friends after that, and we drifted apart really fast. I hope he's doing alright. Yeah, I know how you feel. My house was boring too. Never any big fights going on. Rarely ever any house destruction. Just a boring old place. Well, I hope you guys are ready for a nice week this week. Yeah, don't forget to check out that YouTube analyzed video I put up. It seems like that channel is going to start growing quite a bit here soon. But anyways, thanks to everybody for watching. Drinking milk. Okay, you can have it.